Hello to anyone watching this who knows me in real life. This image of a duck is me. It's how I choose to represent myself without showing my face. If you're going to understand anything you're about to watch, the first thing you have to know is that this duck is me. The second thing is a bit of a disclaimer that I'm not exactly sure who this is for. Is it intended for me to act as analysis? Is it intended for Isaac as a way to say thank you? Is it intended for everyone else besides us two as a way to translate such a big part of my life? Like I said, I'm not sure. My hope is that it can be a bit of each of those. But for right now, it's time to sit back and enjoy.
Scrooge, Scrooge, I know you can hear me, Scrooge. Listen to me,
Ah, what are you doing in my house?
it's me. Don't tell me you don't recognize me. Your old business partner, Jacob Marley.
I don't think I've ever met someone named Jacob in my entire life.
What do you mean? Aren't you Scrooge?
Oh, you have the wrong hat wearing duck. I get that all the time.
Well, crud. That throws a wrench in the whole thing my friends and I were planning to do tonight.
Oh, sorry about that. I can find the right address for the person you're looking for if you think that'll help.
We can't really change plans now. Everyone's already RSVP'd to this location. And because they're all supposed to get here at different times, they're all Ubering here. They're all already on their way. So if we change locations now, that just means more fees.
Whoa. well, dang, I'm sorry about this. Is there any other way I can help? To, like, make the night fun like it was supposed to be?
No, it's probably too late. That is, unless you have something in your life that you could use some closure and development on, akin to a life change that you haven't fathomed yet, or something both equally challenging and rewarding that someone you know is going through, preferably formatted into 3 acts symbolizing past, present, and future.
Well, my best friend Isaac is going on a mission thousands of miles away.
Hmm. Yeah, that'll work.
Da 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 da, dash of this, dash a little of that, little of this, little of that, and voila.
Okay. The first spirit is set to arrive at 1 in the morning.
Oh, I guess I still have a while till then.
Consider yourself warned of what is to come. My job is done now. I'm heading out.
Oh, thanks for your help, J Money.
It's Marley.
Okay. Okay. What am I gonna do till 1 in the morning?
Scrooge, Scrooge,
You can come out now, ghost of the past. I know you're here.
Scrooge.
How did you know my name already?
I already know the spirits that are coming and what they should stereotypically look like. You happen to be a spirit whose face is always changing, but you can always be identified by your signature cap. I thought J Money was supposed to DM you the updated details.
DM?
Yeah, do you not know the... Oh, right, you're the embodiment of the past. It makes sense you're not up to date on the lingo or the technology for that matter. Okay, so put frankly, I don't need to be wafted away across the nighttime cityscape to compare myself to my past happier version of me.
Bad news. That's kind of my whole thing.
Well, I got something else in mind. At least try and give it a shot.
I don't know about this.
We're gonna play a fun game together while I talk through my past, okay? That is, unless you just want to pout because baby didn't get to fly around the city as he always does in every single version of A Christmas Carol, despite never actually happening in Charles Dickens' original version.
Give me a break. Flying around the city is fun.
Here, you're gonna need one of these. That T symbol is the directional pad, it's how you're gonna move. And the button on the other side with the 2 on it is how you jump. That is all you need to know.
What game are you playing anyway?
The first game I ever remember playing with Isaac.
New Super Mario Brothers. Whee!
When you think about it, every single piece of writing in fiction is a commentary on the nature of existence. We like fantasy for its capabilities to compare to the real world, we like sci-fi to measure our capacity beyond the human race, and we like westerns because cowboys are cool as heck. All of this is to say that your favorite piece of fiction would not exist without someone, author, director, or production leader, playing a game of spot the difference between the world that they live in and the world they themselves invent. I barely consider myself a writer, but I love playing this type of spot the difference in the things I watch and create. Like I said, it's all about the nature of existence. And this sense of wonder I'm making commentary about by creating this video isn't some unfathomable target, it's just hard to remember. Strictly because I can't remember a time before the thing I'm writing about. Before I met my best friend Isaac. This is a photo of both of us that we took at Chuck E. Cheese when we were very young. I only rediscovered it a few months ago, and it's dated at the bottom, so I can tell that this was within a year of us meeting for the first time. I know we met when I was 5 and he was 4, because I remember kind of bragging that I was a year older than him when we first met. Despite being 8 months apart, not a year. You can't blame me for being bad at math and not understanding the calendar. I was 5. I honestly don't remember the first time we had a play date, or what we did, or what we ate. Probably either Little Caesars or McDonald's. We had those a lot back then. I remember it was at his house, but that's all I know. I wish I could recall specifically what we first bonded over, or what we spent our first hour together doing. But I also think there's something poetic about that information being lost to time. I mean, it's probably not hard to deduce that type of thing. We probably spent a lot of time sliding down the slide and swinging on the swing of the backyard playset thing he had. But it's kind of a mystery as to what we specifically bonded over. At least, it's a mystery for the first playdate. For whatever reason, I have a very clear memory as to what we did on the second playdate. I distinctly remember walking in, and then immediately seeing a familiar video game on the living room TV. New Super Mario Bros. Wii. That's why this game is so important. It's not just because it's what we bonded over, it's the earliest memory I have of doing anything with Isaac. I, more specifically my brothers, had a copy of the game already, so I was semi-familiar and was able to be more of a participating party in playing through it this time.
Speaking of playing through it, can we start now? We've been on the character select screen for like 3 minutes. Do you want to be the red plumber or the green one?
Oh, that reminds me of something else. My dad once posed an inquiry that between Isaac and I, which one of us is the Mario, and which one of us is the Luigi. To this day, I do not have a solid answer to that question. The argument could be made that we're just more complex than some of the most recognizable and generic characters in all of history, but I'd say the Mario Bros are just too one-dimensional. One of us isn't more afraid than the other, one of us isn't more iconic than the other, and one of us can't jump significantly higher than the other. Actually, we've never tested that. That one may be true. The only real evidence for one conclusion is that I'm older than him, which makes me the one to lean towards Mario, personality-wise that is, because since we first met, there was a kind of unspoken rule of Isaac being player 1 and me being player 2. Even when we were playing games where the player number you're given is inconsequential, he always wanted the Wii remote with the blue hand symbol, and I wanted the one with the red hand symbol. In Lego Batman, he was Batman and I was Robin. In Donkey Kong, he was Donkey Kong and I was Diddy Kong. In Sonic, he was Sonic and I was Tails. I honestly don't know how we always came to that conclusion so easily. My best guess is that we both had experience playing these games by ourselves, and therefore being player 1. And while Isaac wanted to stay and remain as player 1, I wanted an experience more uncommon than usual, hence me being player 2. I find it so interesting that these were such constants in our friendship when our friendship wasn't even that constant yet. We weren't inseparable at first. We would only see each other on the occasional Saturday playdate and sometimes for a few seconds on Sundays when we passed each other in the hall. We weren't in the same ward yet, and we wouldn't be until we were in middle school. And at that point, we began to see each other more throughout the week. On Wednesday youth nights and on Tuesdays, when I invited him to the Boy Scout meetings I was going to in a separate ward. You could say that as Nintendo consoles developed over time, so did our bond. Soon, we each had something we could carry in our pockets that we could play with. At that point, we would always bring a bag of games and other consoles when we met up. And this is where a new development happened, that being the expansion of the group. If I recall correctly, it was within a year of the Switch launching. See, that's when Isaac started getting into Dungeons & Dragons, and very much wanted to introduce me to it. And because the most common place for us to meet up regularly was at the church on Wednesday nights, someone was bound to overhear. Thus, the group began to form. Wait, I don't have individual photos of each of the guys that I can use to represent them. Oh, okay. I'm gonna represent them with the Miis I made them for my Miitopia playthrough. Oh, and I'll swap Isaac and I for our Miis too for this segment. I believe Reagan was the first one to overhear us, and Ryan joined not long after that. The specific memory I have tied to the group's early days was this one specific young men's summer camping trip. Looking back, it felt like we talked for hours about D&D. What our first characters' backstories would be, putting our own names into character name generators, and what I remember most specifically, us giggling about the concept of a really, really long horse that we would all ride on. We did have a few one-time cameo characters appear in the group, then we got some more permanent additions. Another year went by and Ron joined as we continued D&D, and we had Ethan join as we expanded into our next shared group hobby. The reason I remember that it was within a year of the Nintendo Switch being out is because that was the time frame that Smash Ultimate was announced, and I remember us having a lot of discussion and speculation before its release. This was when we had our first official tournament. Despite all of us already knowing what day it would happen, Isaac made and delivered these envelopes meant to mimic the Smash invitations, each saying that we were invited to the ultimate fight. The group did exist before, but Smash Bros was something that genuinely gave us a bond, something we could rely upon and get excited about. I'm not exactly sure the simile of Isaac and I being Mario and Luigi makes sense with this larger group, but if I had to try and make it make sense, I'd say Ron is the Mario, Reagan's the Luigi, Ryan and Ethan are Wario and Waluigi, I'm not sure who is which, and that leaves me and Isaac being Toads, because I guess we're similar, I don't know.
Is that why you chose to play as Blue Toad right now?
I mean, that's one reason for it. In the later games, Blue Toad is significantly faster than the other characters, and I found that fun.
What I'm finding fun is this helicopter shroom. With this, it looks like I will be doing some flying around tonight.
You're very interesting, Past. You react to anything like it's the first time you see it, but shouldn't the embodiment of all previous existence of the world be more, I don't know, well-versed in it?
The short answer is that I can be when I want to, but most of the time I'm not. It's not too different from how you or anyone else would treat their past. Yes, it happened, and yes, you should acknowledge it, but if you relish in that and only that, then you're halting what would happen next. Like, you and Isaac didn't only do one activity for the entire time you knew each other, right?
Okay, yeah, I guess you're right.
I don't want to say the bond between me and Isaac changed when the group formed. I guess evolved is the right word. But the way we played games began to change. For the better, in my opinion. We began to get more competitive when playing video games. Not to say we were never competitive before. We had this big feud early on with that one Mario Party minigame where you shake the soda can and the controls tell you to... What are we talking about again? Oh, yeah, we were competitive now. We suddenly began to challenge ourselves, like, who can beat this level in Sonic Forces with the highest score, or estimating which one of us is the better Splatoon player by how quickly we can finish the hard mode DLC. This isn't to say we were never working together. Heck, we spent hours role-playing and coming up with Splatoon versions of ourselves. It's weird to think that we were either competitive enough to want to find out who's the best, or the complete opposite with no real competition or goal or reward at all. It was getting harder to meet up, not just within the games group we had formed, but also for one-on-one time for the two of us. We saw each other practically every day at the start of our first year of high school, being in the same seminary class and all. But even though we saw each other that amount, it began to be harder to meet up for a dedicated activity like playing video games or D&D. We just slid through the weeks, hoping that the other one was available that weekend, and if not, there was always next weekend. And we were good with that. We didn't have to be at the same school, and we didn't have to be doing the same extracurricular activities. We were so rooted in the formation of each other's personalities that we could talk about almost anything. There was a time when we were talking with the group about a specific game we wanted to try out altogether, and Isaac recommended a specific YouTuber that does content on the game. I was also a fan of that YouTuber, and we discussed him together. Then I asked myself, why in the world was I surprised? It wouldn't be a huge shocker if our YouTube recommendations were exactly identical. There was another time when I was watching a show and I immediately knew Isaac would love it. I was right, and he clicked with it immediately, and we both made OCs for that fictional universe within days of watching it. It speaks to how much we've grown as people that I'm able to talk about the past, along with these examples of fiction. And the fact that none of them fit our situation perfectly is a testament to something. I'm not exactly sure what yet. There is one last one I want to talk about. I've mentioned his name twice already, and that name is...
Sonic Heroes! Sonic Heroes! Oh, Sonic and Sonic! Oh yeah!
Okay, it's not Sonic Heroes, but it's Sonic, and that clip was very funny to both of us when we were younger. I don't think I would consider myself, or even a younger version of myself, as a Sonic fan, but I do have fond memories of Sonic that are tied to Isaac. Playing Sonic Boom together at his house, playing Sonic Forces against each other at my house. There are even memories tied without Isaac even being there. If you're raised in the church, you have a baptism when you turn 8. It's considered a big deal and you're even given gifts, in more ways than one if you know what I'm saying. One such gift that I got was a copy of Sonic Unleashed for the Wii. Take a wild guess who got it for me. I'm not sure why, but I loved this game. It's kind of a coin flip of quality if you ask the Sonic community. It both revolutionized the mechanics of a fast-moving 3D Sonic, but also gave you a mode that is very much the opposite of fast. But this isn't supposed to be a pummeling criticism of a game that came out 15 years ago. This is supposed to be a pummeling criticism of me! Wait, as I said before, I really liked this game as a kid. In the I could play this over and over and I would remain happy kind of liking it. I would inevitably get stuck at one point, then would somehow beat what I was stuck on in a future playthrough. There were a few of these roadblocks, but I just kept playing. It's funny how this pattern of fun that I had with this game is the exact same pattern I have with Isaac. It wasn't possible that it would get tedious to see each other. And we would sometimes get stuck from being able to meet up again, but that wouldn't have the tiniest effect on whether or not I wanted to see him. Of course I always did, he's my best friend. And when we met up, the possibilities truly felt endless. I guess that's what Isaac means to me. I didn't just enjoy my past with him, he is my past that I enjoyed.
That's not all.
What do you mean?
That's not all. It's not your entire history with him. If anything, you only covered the first 10 years you've known him, and nothing of the last 5.
I mean, I guess I haven't talked about you-know-what yet, but it's hard to discuss it, and I was kind of hoping to wait till, like, the last ghost appeared to talk about that.
No point in doing that. He only covers what is yet to come. What you're avoiding to talk about has already happened. You can't deny that did happen, bro. You might have in the past, but you can't do that now. Not while you're being Christmas caroled. Look, I'll cut you a deal. We can wait to do this if it will make you more comfortable. But once the Ghost of Christmas Present gets here, you will dive into this. I'll even stick around until you do, if that makes it easier. As I said before, if you relish in that and only that, then you're halting what will happen next. You have to acknowledge it to move forward, okay? Do we have a deal?
Yeah, I guess we do. Any idea when the present will get here?
All I know is that he arrives exactly when he intends to. We can do something else in the meantime if this game is starting to draw some unwanted connections.
Yeah, that's probably for the best. I guess we'll just wait it out.
So he really had the bullet in his shoulder after all this time?
Yep, 15 years passed and it's still in him.
That doesn't make sense. After 15 years, the ballistic markings of that bullet are bound to change. Even if it wasn't lodged in the flesh, it would still change naturally. How can a genius like him not notice that?
Welcome to the fandom, my friend. Do you feel like watching the second half of the season?
Nah, at least not yet. President's due here any second.
Yeah, that's probably true. I guess it gets lost in most adaptations that each ghost appearance happens a day apart from one another.
Any clue where you'll start with him?
I have an idea, but it's only that, an idea. Do you smell smoke? Or is it ham? Or is it smoky ham?
Oh, looks like he's here.
I don't see him. Is he that kind of ghost that I can't see?
Nah, he just spawns in your bedroom.
Oh, okay.
Come in and know me better, man.
You can cut it with the generic lines, Present.
Past? What are you doing here?
I'm mixing it up a little bit. You have a special case on your hands. Present, meet your client. Client, meet your present.
Hiya. Now that we're introduced, touch my robe, friend.
Nah, I don't wanna.
Like I said, Prez, we're mixing things up.
Mind if we watch a movie instead?
I love movies.
Hey, why was he so much more open to my ideas than you were?
Maybe because he doesn't usually get to have fun flying around the city at nighttime going hundreds of miles an hour.
Hey, what movie are we watching?
One from my childhood. And by that, I mean one that came out 10 years ago. It's also one that I saw with Isaac. It's called Earth to Echo. So, Earth to Echo. Do you remember this movie? Because I barely did. You didn't have to see it to understand what I'm going to say. Only a few details of the movie matter. Detail number 1. Isaac and I saw this movie together in theaters. I remember us being excited to see it, but I also remember us being late. Like 10 minutes late. Like missing most of the plot and character introductions kind of late. Luckily, the plot is just a group of 3 childhood friends following a map to try and stop a government conspiracy that's making them all move to separate states. Okay, that sounds a lot more complicated when I say it out loud. But we were still able to pick up on those details despite being 10 minutes late. One of the things I remember liking about the movie is that the main trio has very realistic dialogue. Yeah, each kid only has one discernible trait, which I will go into more individual detail later, but the conversations they have feel like conversations an actual group of friends would have. Through the genuine character that they show when one of them is in danger, or the "your mom" jokes that they make in between all of that. Detail number 2 is that this is a very specific kind of film. Think of it in the same concept as Lilo and Stitch or The Iron Giant. Earth to Echo is nowhere near the level of those films, but the concept is similar. Someone on Earth, usually a kid, discovers some sort of supernatural being that they don't understand. They bond, and they help each other improve on who they are. I don't know what this trope is technically called, but the closest named ones I can find are Batman in my basement, Wounded Hero, Weaker Helper, or Secret Pet Plot.
Why'd you bring up better movies? I just want to watch those instead.
I agree with Past. Why don't we just fast forward the movie to the relevant points? That way we can watch the better movies after this.
I'm fine with that. I already watched this movie a few months ago. Oh, I got an idea. While this speeds forward, let me go into further detail about how this is a very specific kind of film. It's a found footage film, which I'll be honest, I did not notice when I first saw it. The gist of it is that one of the kids, Tuck, enjoys filming stuff and posting it to the internet for mostly no one but his friends to see.
Do I need to point out the parallels of that?
What do you mean?
I'll save it for later when the time's right.
Okay. So, Tuck ended up filming their entire night. Originally, he was filming because the night the trio go on this journey is the last night they're spending together before they move. In doing so, they document the existence of a small little robot alien thing, the titular Echo of Earth to Echo. This is my biggest problem with the movie as a whole. Echo is just not interesting. There's no scene that bridges a sense of humanity, there's no obvious traits for the kids to get attached to. He's just there. He can't talk, he technically can't even see. If you say anything to him, he just repeats what you said back at you. Thus the kids call him Echo. So they break into a few places in order to find individual parts for a gadget that can fix Echo. They find a girl at one of those places they break into, and she joins the group for the rest of the movie. She doesn't do anything significant in the plot, she's just also there when important stuff is happening. There are subtle comments about a romantic subplot between her and one of the guys, but I find it frustrating to think about that. Because that means, in the screenwriter's mind, the only purpose she should serve is a romantic partner, and that's kind of a messed up way to write female characters in my opinion. Anyway, they get the final piece they need in an arcade, but Alex gets caught, and the others just run away without realizing they left him behind. Luckily, Alex escapes with Echo's help, and they reunite with tensions among the group. Mainly Tuck and the character we're going to dive into now, Alex. The earliest thing we learn about Alex is that he's a foster kid. One of the first things we hear as the teens discuss having to move is that he isn't new to that kind of idea. He's been moved all over and lived with several families. He's never felt like he's belonged to a specific family, but he does belong with his friends. And he saw what happened at the arcade as the final nail in the coffin. That he's losing his friends, not because they're all moving, but because they chose to leave him behind in this one moment.
Do I need to point out the parallels of that one?
Literally, what do you mean?
Like I said, I'm saving it for when the time is right.
Fine, I guess. Anyways, this kind of stuff is what I like about the movie. Yes, the main three guys only have one character trait each, but they're fleshed out enough to show genuine emotion. It's kind of sad they didn't extend that to... Literally, why can't I remember the name of the girl? The trio just call her Mannequin Girl all the time, which is a whole other can of worms. I'm sure I'll remember her name later. So, Tuck and Alex eventually worked out their frustrations in the next scene. And I am so glad that they didn't drag this on more than they needed to. They assure one another that they'll always have each other's back, no matter the situation. And then, spooky government construction person, I forgot to mention until now, shows up and steals Echo. This is when Munch puts on his bicycle helmet and jumps into the back of the truck that the government guy is driving off in. Oh wait, I haven't mentioned Munch yet.
Speaking of Munch, do you have any good snacks?
I mean, there's the pile of meat offerings that you left upstairs in my bedroom.
I'm just feeling a bit peckish. I'll be back in 20 seconds.
So, when are you gonna tell him?
Give me a second, I have to work up to it. Unlike you, he doesn't know all that's ever happened. Once I finish summarizing the movie, then I'll address it.
All I'm saying is that you can't keep using the "I'll get it to it eventually" phrase as an emotional crutch.
What was that?
He said now he's gonna talk about Munch.
So, Munch. I'm not sure how to describe him. In one scene, he's the anxious weird one in the group, then he's the brains for like 2 seconds, then he goes back to being the anxious weird one. He calls himself an acquired taste, and his fear in moving is that he won't be understood by any of the kids in his new town. He's taken forever to make real bona fide friends, and moving will just reset all that work. Him chasing after the construction guy in the truck is the most reckless thing he's ever done. And now the plot for the remaining characters is to get back to the construction site where all the government people are and get back their friends. They have a few hijinks along the way, but they make it back while it's still light out. You see, while everyone in the neighborhood was told that they have to move so they can build a freeway, when the kids get to the site, it's just a big hole. Turns out they've been digging for Echo's ship this entire time, trying to cover it all up. So the kids eventually all get caught, but Echo fixes himself and frees everyone. More hijinks ensue as Echo guides everyone to the entrance of his spaceship, which turns out is just in Alex's backyard, just really, really far down. They go inside, and Echo flashes scenes of the entire night along the walls, and they all say goodbye to Echo so he could go back to his home. Then, piece by piece, the parts of the spaceship begin to fly out of the ground individually, assembling again once they're in the sky, and the ship blasts off into space.
The gang celebrates, saying how cool it is that they were the ones that caused the spectacle that they just saw. There's one last gag about Alex and Emma being together, and wait, Emma! Her name's Emma! I remember now!
Then the movie wraps up.
Seems like quite a simple story, but a good kind of simple. A nice happy ending where a group of friends bond over an unbelievable journey and are now stronger together because of it.
That's not the end.
Oh, is there a sequel?
No, there's...
Oh, did they reunite with Echo in the end?
No, in the end they still...
Oh, does the...
Hey, pork roast a Christmas present. Let the man finish talking.
Sorry, got a little too interested there.
In the end, they still end up moving.
Wait, what? The ship is gone. The construction guys have nothing left to dig for.
Yep,
Wasn't the whole point of the movie to stop the plan so they don't have to move?
yep.
Then why did they end up moving?
The simple answer is life. As soon as they finish talking about how cool the spaceship is, it immediately cuts to Alex moving boxes into a truck. His parents already bought a new house, and so did Munches. So, in the end, the group does split up. Remember how I brought up the Iron Giant and Lilo and Stitch earlier? Well, I did bring them up to expound on a trope. It was also to understand how that kind of trope can end. In the former, the Iron Giant discovers he wants to be peaceful and then sacrifices himself. This is ending type 1, where the human character and the supernatural being split up by the end. Compare that to Lilo and Stitch, where Stitch becomes an integrated part of Lilo's life going forward, at least for 3 more movies and a TV show. And this is ending type 2. So where does Earth to Echo land between them? I'm not super sure if I'm being honest. On one hand, they do say goodbye to this supernatural ally, but they also end up saying goodbye to each other at the end as well. Another thing to bring into consideration is the age difference of the main characters. Hogarth is 9, Lilo is 9. The trio and Echo are all 13. I guess it's more of a coming of age story than the others, with the group having to come to grips with the fact that they don't have control, but that they will eventually. In fact, Tuck says something like that by the end. Have a listen.
When you're a kid, you think you're invisible. You think you can't make a difference. We're not kids anymore.
This ending is good, I guess. I know it's not supposed to fulfill all my wishes, but it did get the ending right. It's obvious that the kids are still a big part of each other's lives, and it's great that they got to have an amazing adventure as a send-off to begin the next phases of their friendship.
I see where you're going. You got this. Continue your thought.
I find the ending of this movie very peaceful and almost paragonic, with the whole concept of being able to say goodbye to your best friend before they move. I see it almost like an ideal and impossible fantasy to live out. Because I never got the chance to say goodbye to Isaac when he moved. Remember COVID? Yeah, me neither. My entire sophomore year was online. I had to do a lot of catch-up notes on the AP Euro class I was taking. Man, did teachers have no idea how to teach us stuff during quarantine or what? I remember copying information from the textbook for like 8 hours after school every day in order to barely do okay on the test. Combine that amount with the addition of early morning seminary every day meant that the recommended minimum 8 hours that sleep scientists say someone my age should get was an option that wasn't even on the menu, let alone on the table. But it all didn't matter because one day I caught up. I was finally on the chapter that would let me make actual progress with the rest of the class. I remember telling my mom that I was genuinely proud of what I had recovered, and I remember telling myself that I deserved a short break before I got back to work. And that is the moment that will forever be etched into my brain. Because only a few minutes into the break, my mom broke the news to me that she had only found out moments before. That Isaac and his family are moving to Vegas. Needless to say, I wasn't able to keep up with the rest of the class with my notes. Because I spent the rest of the day crying in my bed. It didn't feel real. It felt like I was dreaming. A close friend moving away was something that happens in movies or TV shows or 30-minute Bluey episodes, not in real life. It was significantly hard to come to grips with. Not because it came out of nowhere, not because I had some deeper expectation in my mind, but because there was no one to blame. It's a lot easier when you can blame someone. Not even someone. Sometimes it's a concept or an idea. But no, all I can attribute the blame to is life. In the same way, the kids from Earth to Echo still ended up moving despite overcoming every challenge and every obstacle. There are some things you just can't conquer. I didn't think I had to conquer anything, I just thought I would get what I wanted. Not even that, I just wanted what thousands of years of evolution and human mannerisms made me think I was entitled to. A chance to say goodbye. I often question what it means to say goodbye. What's so good about it? Does the good just quantify the intention? Does it strike as a way to stay optimistic in a negative time? Is it just a linguistic pattern that's impossible to decipher the meaning from? You hear people say good morning and good afternoon all the time as greetings, but good night is exclusively a send-off. Even then, it's more of a commentary on the time of day rather than the greeting itself. No one ever says good hello or good see you later, specifically only goodbye. The best way I can express it is that you say bye when in touch with the reality of change, and you say goodbye when you need hope in order to combat the reality of change. I didn't get to say either to Isaac. Because of COVID, we couldn't meet as a group to give him a proper send-off. Because of COVID, we couldn't meet as a pair to have some last-minute bonding time. Because of COVID, I never got to say goodbye to my best friend. The whole situation had me filled with a mix of frustration, sorrow, and I guess envy in a way. Envious of the time we used to have. I still debate whether or not there was a fear associated with the situation, or if I just feel fear in the current day.
Well, there's fear in the current day. That much is guaranteed.
Well, there's my answer. Hey, Past, I think it's time you bring up those parallels that you tried to draw earlier.
I kinda don't want to now.
Do you see why I was so hesitant to bring it up?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, I'm ready for it now. Come on, there's no time like there's no time like that guy, I guess.
It's the teens. Each of the singular traits they have represent your fears in the realm of your friendship. Not just to Isaac, but to any of your friends. You're afraid that you're Tuck, and you won't be able to foster your creative pursuits without filtering it through your companions. You're afraid that you're Alex, and you'll be forgotten and left alone, not because they're looking out for themselves, but because they want to make an active effort to leave you alone. You're afraid that you're Munch, and that the things that make you weird or special will never link with anyone else, besides your friends who may soon be gone.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Deep down, I can't tell if these are fears or anxieties. It doesn't really matter, though. When I think about them separately, away from the context of my friends or companions, I think they're no big deal. But my friends are on my mind a lot. It's hard to think of them as something other than what they are, which is incredibly supportive. But somewhere, in the deep recesses of my feelings, I question if they have the same feelings of saying goodbye as a way to confront reality. When we're together, we can keep a conversation going on forever, but it's such a rare case for us to be talking about something other than a movie, show, or game. Part of me wonders if they feel the same, part of me wonders if they don't, but the biggest part of me wonders if they want to or should feel the same. They don't have to if they don't want to, but I question if I'm being the outlier with these feelings, and if that makes me the most likely to drift away. Kind of going back to what I said earlier, back to when I just got a ramble about Sonic, there's almost a fear connected to that too. The story of Sonic Unleashed is pretty bare bones. An ancient evil awakens from within the planet, and Sonic is the only one able to confront it because his heart is strong or whatever the frick. Then there's the companion that Sonic has for this game specifically, Chip. When you first meet him, he has amnesia. When you come to know him, you learn he likes ice cream. And then kind of out of nowhere, he discovers he's a literal god destined to face and stop the ancient evil. You know, Sonic's Basic Thursday and all that. But that doesn't matter. What does is that in the final battle, after Sonic goes all supersonic like he always does, Chip seals himself away in the core of the earth to kill the bad guy. Which confused me as a kid, because most Sonic shows and games called the world Mobius, not Earth. Then again, humans are a stable population in this game, so it can't be Earth. Then again, every human you speak to refers to it as the whole world or the planet, not as Earth or Mobius. Then again, the name used for the ancient good and ancient evil is the term Gaia, which literally translates to Earth. Then again, while most of the worlds and levels you play have some sort of cultural influence, their names are not real locations or even words for that matter. Then again. Okay, I only now notice I got a little sidetracked there. Let me rethink where I was. Oh yeah, in the end, Sonic keeps Chip's little glowing collar as a wristband. We hear a spiritual message from Chip saying,
I'll never forget you. I'll be here by you, always. A part of the earth you tread.
Okay, so maybe it was Earth then? I say to myself, because nobody cares about this.
I care. I find that a very heartwarming ending. A piece of Chip will always be with Sonic on his next adventures.
Sonic never has the armband in any future installments, and Chip's sacrifice is never mentioned again.
Literally, why?
It's Sonic, man. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm beginning to see the pattern, but I don't understand what this has to do with Isaac.
Frankly, it's because I both fear and yearn to be the Chip in our friendship. I question if I'm some sort of anchor holding Isaac back, some sort of load that needs to be lightened, some sort of deadweight that needs to be severed. That could just be the depressed and insecure about myself part of me talking, though. To keep the metaphor of the Sonic franchise, was what Isaac and I had some sort of peak experience that will never be achieved again after countless times reuniting and rehashing? Even if what we have in the present day may be better than some attempts or experiences, is it still nothing compared to the splendor of what is lost to time? I don't know. I don't think anyone should consider my opinions because they're only based on what I and I alone feel.
That covers a lot. At least it covers the past that you were hiding when we talked earlier. But I don't know how you transfer from that to your feelings in the present day.
Frankly, I don't know either. I'm not sure how to represent the aspects of the present that I'm overlooking when I myself haven't experienced that at all. To start, I guess I'll mention examples of those countless times of reuniting and rehashing I talked about before. Despite being distant, we were still able to bond over games. We as a group tried out this TTRPG system that I got to GM. Sessions were sparse, but when they happened, it felt amazing. I probably set my expectations too high when I tried to be vague and cryptic about the fact I had essentially an entire, not very well thought out franchise with 70 different characters they would have to keep track of. Luckily, it never got that complicated, and the first arc of gameplay we did is still one of my favorite things I've ever written or created, or whatever you call the capacity in which I was the game master. Weirdly enough, you could say things didn't really change. Yes, the games we played over Discord instead of in person, but we never stopped playing games. I have some incredibly fond memories of those times, especially in the summers of each year, when we would always find some new game to bond over. In 2020, it was Ninjala. In 2021, it was Knockout City. In 2022, it was Splatoon 3. You get the picture. Wait, that reminds me of something. I started writing in a journal that year, and though I fell off that habit, I did write a small excerpt about one of those days.
I know for a fact that it happened on August 27th, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. I know of that for a fact because that was when the Splatoon 3 open beta was. Here's the excerpt I wrote. I just had one of the longest playing sessions with the group ever, like 11 hours long. It felt great to talk to the guys and bond over a game again. I guess that pattern became the new normal. Yes, the moments that mattered were scattered apart, and it felt like I had no time to adjust, but I had eventually gotten used to it. It had been a pretty long time since Isaac and I did something that was just the two of us, so I wanted to plan at least something small we could do as a pair. That eventually led us to playing a series of co-op puzzle games called We Were Here. It's essentially a series of escape room-like castle chambers you have to work through together. You can't see the other person's perspective, so you're relying on your partner to find helpful clues on their side that will help you both escape safely. The twist is that the only thing you're communicating through is a pair of walkie-talkies, and only one of you can speak at a time, meaning you'll need good memorization and communicative skills.
Here's an example of one of the many conversations Isaac and I had in our escape from Castle Rock. Okay, the locked door just opened and I'm inside now. Nothing of interest in this room yet. Over. Yeah, same. On my side, all I see is a long hallway with 3 different colored pipes, 1 red, 1 blue, 1 yellow. My guess is that we're gonna need to combine them into some other color. Do you see any colors on your side that, we would be able to mix it into? Oh wait, I'm still holding down the button. Okay, I'm done now. Over.
Green, the answer is green! I'm literally drowning, please hurry up!
Those games were pretty fun. We only ever made it through like 2.5 of them. There's an overarching story within the games, but a cryptic one that you have to piece together. The first game was an experience. The final puzzle had you recounting a stage play of the events that occurred in Castle Rock many years ago, all while one of you is being psychologically tortured by a haunted marionette jester thing. Isaac played that role, and I know he was genuinely terrified. Not because he was screaming, but because he was completely silent, which is not a very helpful trait in a cooperative puzzle game. Needless to say, we eventually outsmarted the marionette and made our way to the exit of the castle.
Amazing! Good to know that at least one of the games you associate with Isaac has a happy ending.
Only one of you can escape, and it's by leaving behind the other player to die.
What in the world is so wrong with the world?
I hope that if anyone, you would know that, Present. You're the complete absolution of the current moment, so I thought you would have an understanding of the what of this world. Past deliberates the why, but you would know the what.
That's the thing. I have no idea. Usually I help people see what they're ignoring or missing out on, not what it means in the grand scheme.
But in no way does that actually...
We wish we could be more help, but we can't draw that many conclusions. The usual changes we make in people's lives are much more clear-cut than this. Hey, you don't have to be stingy with your belongings. Hey, maybe don't be a grump on Christmas. Hey, don't let you underpaying your workers be the reason a kid dies.
In the current moment, this is all we can do.
You know what? Fine. Fine! Since all you spirits seem to be good for is to stuff your face and fly away from your problems, maybe once in my pathetic life I'll draw conclusions on my own accord. It tears me up inside that I never got the chance to say farewell to someone I owe the formation of my biggest hobbies, interests, and my own personality to. Every single one of the treasured fictions Isaac is tied to says that a goodbye is something that should be built up to and is the most necessary and ideal part of every amazing story. I am incapable of conceiving the idea that despite never being able to wish him luck when he moved, I am extremely weary of wishing him luck as he goes on his mission. It's like the universe is taunting me by giving me another chance to create a send-off to the person I owe my existence to. Ironic that I'm given another chance to say goodbye to my truest friend for what the truest suicidal part of myself believes may be for the last time. I feel like no one truly understands that he's genuinely like my brother.
He's like a brother to you? Is that what you're trying to say? It's a beautifully worded sentiment, and I'm sure he feels the same.
Present? No, that's. Okay, yes, that statement is true, but what he's trying to say is that.
I need to wait. There's no way I can talk about this now, not while I'm like this. Given the time it took Present to arrive, that gives us about a day's worth of hours to de-escalate. And I know for a fact that I need you two here when the next ghost comes.
If that's what you want.
We'll do whatever we can.
Thank you so much. I think I need something else from you as well. To send a message. Hopefully it'll be sent through and understood before the big guy comes.
Don't worry about a thing. We'll get that message sent. All we have to worry about now is how to kill time waiting for the future to arrive. So the entire basis of the killer's plan was to hope that the piece of evidence got stuck on the murder weapon, and thereby incriminating the defendant? That's not how physics works.
This is nothing compared to the inconsistencies of the last season. We gotta show you that one after.
Why do I feel burdened with such a contradiction?
Welcome to the fandom, my friend.
Hey, do we have any ETA?
None yet. Pablo usually shows up late compared to us, but no matter how long it seems like he's taking, he's always coming closer.
Wait, Pablo? We're talking about the same guy, right? Tall, wears a dark cloak, doesn't communicate much other than a subtle pointing finger.
That's Pablo, alright.
And Jacob Marley should be here any minute now, too. It was a pretty good idea to get him in on the conclusion of this thing.
I'm sorry, I'm still hung up on the fact that the Ghost of Christmas Future, the one of you that's supposed to be a representation of death and mortality, is named Pablo.
It fits the naming scheme better, at least.
Ghost of Christmas Past, Ghost of Christmas Present, and Ghost of Christmas Pablo. Rolls off the tongue better, doesn't it?
Alright. What did you guys screw up?
Nothing. We just wanted your input.
Input? You've never needed my input. Why is Pablo not here already, scarring him for life? Instead, you guys are asking me for input?
We have a question only you can answer.
I don't answer questions. I show up at guys' houses. I tell him he has to change or bad things will happen. And I, telepathically, send all of you the address when things are set in motion.
Well, I kinda cut you off when you were giving me your intro speech, and I wanted to hear and experience the rest of it.
The speech means nothing if it comes after all of this.
Just give it a chance. I swear it's relevant.
Alright then.
Ask me who I was.
No, not that far back. Skip to the part about the window.
I don't have any lines during that part, and the actual mysteriousness of it all won't work without all of them here.
Then just read the description from the paragraph it happens in.
Okay then. The air was filled with phantoms, wandering hither and thither in restless haste, and moaning as they went. Each one of them wore chains, like Marley's ghost. Some few were linked together, none were free. Many had been personally known to Scrooge in their lives.
Now skip to the next paragraph.
Whether these creatures faded into mist, or mist enshrouded them, he could not tell. But they and their spirit voices faded together, and the night became as it had been when he walked home. You guys feel like telling me why you had to do that?
Well, in the past few nights, I've been very busy considering the what-ifs, trying to see the positives I take for granted, like what if Isaac was never part of my life, trying to overcome the negatives, like what if he had never moved. Then I started asking the what-ifs about you guys. What if you immediately knew my problems instead of thinking I was someone else? What kind of lesson would you teach me? What kind of scenes from my life would we revisit? And what form would you take, Jacob? You'd have to be a ghost, so you need to be someone dead. You'd have to be influential in my identity, but not a personality that is too much like mine, from which they would also have to learn a lesson. Someone with more experience than me, but someone who would understand the reasons for my mistakes. Jacob, had you known who I was and what I wanted to learn, you would have shown up as Matthew. my older brother, whom I never got the chance to know. How many people can say that they survived where someone else died? If that statistic was actually knowable, I feel as though the world would be a worse and more traumatic place. But I'll have to settle with the trauma that I did. I did survive where someone else, my brother, died.
I can't really say whether or not I would have shown up as him. I realize the severity of the matter now. But you're the one who wanted this whole carol to be about coping with how to say goodbye to your friend. I don't see how that is related to all of the Isaac business.
It's because his fear, or his anxiety, or his hesitancy to say goodbye to Isaac is rooted so much deeper than we first thought.
It has nothing to do with not being able to say goodbye. It's the inverse, actually. All because
I was never given the chance to get to know or say hello to Matthew.
I'm so sorry for this. For the mistake I made in coming here instead. Without us, you wouldn't be this afraid or anxious or hesitant about anything.
In the original novel, Scrooge's fear of the outcome of death is what makes him change in the end. But I'm not afraid of death in the slightest. The fear that I have to conquer is that Isaac will continue to drift away from me, to the point that he may no longer be a part of my life. So that's where we'll start. What is my life without Isaac? I hope it's evident why I'll be talking about Isaac to a lesser degree in this second half, but it's for a good reason. And I need you three by my side as I face the ghost of Christmas Pablo.